Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, our slasher's back in NBA 2K26. So, first and foremost, it's been a while. I apologize for being off the YouTube scene, but it really comes down to just the fact that 25 has not been as enjoyable to play. I've been telling y'all about that on like Twitter and the YouTube posts and stuff like that, and everybody's been hitting me with the, don't worry about it bro, nobody's really a big fan of the 25 stuff either. But moving forward into 26, I do hope to hold myself a little bit more accountable of staying hungry on this stuff, and I'm not gonna sit here and be all talk about it. I'll let my actions just go ahead and speak for me. So anyway, let's just get straight into the video. I just wanted to tell y'all that that's the reason I've been gone for the last couple of months and stuff. But anyway, with this news that we got in the courtside report, as you can see, there's a lot of talk about the dunk meter and then layup timing being forced to be on. As far as the actual like factual stuff you'll get from the courtside report here, you can see I have it highlighted, the important stuff that we're here to talk about in the video. There's a lot of different other stuff here, but I want to talk a lot about the slashing related things. So as you can see, let's just cut to the chase. I hope y'all enjoy the video, and if you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on them noties, all good stuff. So let's get straight into it with the courtside report. As you can see, we have the highlighted stuff right here. Based on community feedback, shot meters and dunk meters both show your green windows similar to 2K24's. Now, I'm a huge fan of that. Obviously, that's a way big improvement from what we had last year. And I shouldn't even say improvement because it's literally what we had in 24, as they, reference right here. So kudos to them for going back on a system that like was better. Obviously, it's not something better than we've ever had because it's exactly what we're talking about right here. But I'm glad that it's at least something they're willing to admit a mistake on and go back to the system that was, originally better. When I was one of the first people 11 months ago to play 2K25, I was so concerned about this like lack of feedback from the dunk meter, and it ended up being quite a problem in the game when you actually get your hands on it, because there's no way for us slashers to really learn what's a good dunk, what's a bad dunk. Does interior defense make a difference toward your finish? Does it not? Obviously, stuff like that you could kind of play test a little bit yourself over time, but it A, takes a lot more reps, and B, is just a lot harder to really determine the factuality of a lot of that stuff. So I'm glad there's actual system to this now where we can actually test things and know what makes a good dunk, what makes a bad dunk, what makes someone a good defender. Or I mean, in 24 for instance, all you had to do was be in good position. You didn't even need interior defense. It actually made no difference at all in terms of giving your meter size anything bigger. It maybe helped you kick people out of the dunk meter a little bit more, but in 24 it was either you're in a good spot to get a gigantic meter dunk size, or you're in an awful spot and someone was in good positioning and got in your way and made it tiny. Even like 5'9" point guards, like I had shown in a pretty popular video for that matter, pointed that type of stuff out and never got changed. As opposed to 25 actually had a better dunk meter system, but overall just having no visual feedback on that really left things hard to expose the weaknesses of what the dunk meter really was. So overall, there's really never been a good dunk meter in 2K, if I have to be completely honest. So, in reference to, let's say, what the 2K23 dunk meter looked like, I had a tweet that kind of popped off a little bit, and as you can see, it's this example right here. So, when it came to the dunk meter, this is a wide open take right here, for instance, that had a small meter size. And then this one is me getting a contact dunk, literally jumping over somebody with a slightly bigger meter. Now, there were eventually things like easy blow-bys, takeover, that I was put onto by my subscribers in a stream, and then I was kind of like a creator that put that onto the community because of my viewers explaining things like that to me, and I really do appreciate all the times that you guys have ever done that. It's been a handful, not a ton. Normally I'd kind of get my own information, but my subs have definitely pointed out some really big things in the past, and I've fostered a community that in turn helps me discover things as well. So this was one of them. Easy blow-bys eventually became a thing that it helped you get bigger meter dunks on open dunks, and then still stayed the same size on contact dunks, for instance. Anyway, point being though, this was a flawed thing about the dunk meter. Open dunks were awfully small, and the fact that this was a wide open dunk right here, and this is the meter size that you get on it out of a whole bar that's this big, was really, really bad and poorly executed. So that was a problem with that in itself. Now, what I want to let's go ahead and transition over to the layup talk rather than dunk meter. And I know it's kind of abrupt, but let's just go ahead and segue to it. So they obviously mentioned that they're going to be forcing layup timing on. Now, here's the thing that was beautiful about this game, 2K24, and why it's uncontested the best layup game we've ever had in any 2K, is because you had A, power with it, where the layups were pretty big meters for that matter, with something that's like 80 driving layup. Like this is way bigger than that wide open dunk on the dunk meter I was showing y'all on 23 for that matter. So when you combine it with the fact that it was not only powerful, but on top of that, you get the same animations every time when you do specific things to lead to that animation every time. That's why it was huge and so good, and probably the best like use we ever got out of just taking layups in general in 2K. So the reason I'm telling you guys all about this consistency and timing from 24 and the power of the layups as well is that I want to bring it back to this title or section right here. Layup timing is permanently enabled to separate skilled finishers and make those highly contested finishes at the rim even more spectacular and impressive. So why I feel like this is a problem that layup timing is permanently enabled is people don't want to do this when it's no value in it. Like, let me go ahead and come back to this real quick to explain. You see something like this right here and you think, wow, that's overpowered, right? You see a layup meter that looks like this, you see my timing not exactly perfect or anything like that, and you see me make a 34% contested layup. But then you come back and kind of tie everything together. I have slash takeover enabled. My build is a bit more like a slasher for that matter. Layup timing was still important, like they rewarded it, for instance, and the fact that it was like, you know, in the ballpark of being almost a full window of that meter right there is a pretty, you know, you stack all those things up together, it's like you're doing a lot of things correct. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to get at is the reason people run NA on their layup meter is because slashing is invaluable. If it was valuable, they would do stuff like this game allowed it to be valuable. You get where I'm getting at with all this? When there is power in the playstyle, people will do things that quote unquote take skill. Now, whether you want to call this take skill or not, fair enough, but it's a way different, you know, ballpark than just talking about someone running no like turning the timing off on their layups in general and just taking that playstyle completely out their bag like everybody did for 25, minus a couple rare occurrences where people wanted to, like, you know, farm clips for layups and stuff like that. Or if you were just a demon with it on the layups in 25, it's possible that you were one of one that was still doing floaters and scoops and stuff like that in the game, even though you didn't get consistent finish animations and it was also way harder to time the layups in general. So again, yes, I understand 24 was some BS. It was full of super easy layup making. Like, it wasn't hard to be someone that was great at this type of stuff right here. But I'm just saying, if they want a playstyle like this to come back and they want to enable people who like making layups and taking layups and being someone that likes being the style of finisher, then you need to make it possible to actually play this way. Again, if you make it not really usable, that's what makes people want to just turn their NA on, or in better words, take their layup timing off. When there's no power in it, there's no reason to do something in that nature. Now, I will say, there were some animations that, because of the consistency of getting them every time, they became very overpowered and powerful, and I may be someone to blame in that regard. This Sabonis layup that I kind of put on the scene for everybody, and again, I'm not trying to flex my, like, you know, how much I've brought to the slasher community or anything like that, but stuff like this is what really enabled the floaters even more. Devin Booker and Domantas Sabonis, as far as the animations, were huge enablers in terms of the slashers. Because Devin Booker was for anything that was 6'9" and below, and then, well, it actually might have been more like 6'5" to 6'9". I don't actually remember entirely, but they're definitely for the wings at least. And then the Sabonis layup package was for the bigs. Now, Jokic that I showed in that first clip was still fine, but this enabled you to get consistently the exact same animation every time as long as you were outside of this area. I remember this so well, and it's because I played it so intensively of this style. As long as you were moving either to the left or to the right, and you were moving away from the middle, you would get this floater animation every single time. And the consistency, along with the range, along with the makeability for that matter, and again, that's what slash takes, so don't take it way too out of context. This is obviously looking super bot-like when you see it with no context, and even with having slash take making it be this easy to make is pretty crazy. But again, that's for wide opens. When they get more contested, the bar gets smaller, even though you couldn't see it, because by that point the white part of the bar had already crossed, like showing that the green size of the meter was becoming smaller as he gets the contest. Long story short, yes, you can make 100% contest sometimes as long as you had slash take and actually made it like all the way up on your bar and stuff like that. Not to mention badges were important as well, but we're getting away from the point of the video. Point is, consistency of the animation is what is so important for it even being worth the fact that you want to make it so layup timing needs to be permanently on. If it's not gonna be good, then at the end of the day, all we're gonna get is people just trying to make wide open layups, and what are we even talking about at the end of the day at that point? If it's just talking about making wide open layups at 1 foot away from the hoop, it might as well just be everybody having their layup timing off, if you ask me. It makes no difference, really. And on top of that too, the reason layup timing is so hard for people to master as opposed to a jump shot, and that's why we kind of were talking about this right here. There was a lot of segue like kind of side points that I was talking about, but I'll just leave this part up while I'm talking. So the reason it's hard for people to time their layups in comparison to a jump shot is there's a lot of factors about jump shots that are very controllable. So whether it's the fact that you're fading, if you're not holding RT, if you're tired, if you have a different, upper, base, anything like that. You could even have a different dribble pull-up animation. Point is, you have a lot of customization for it, and it's easy to control all of those factors. When it and even the contest maybe change your animation as well. And if that's something that happens with layups too, understandable. But what I would like to compensate for making it so much easier to time a jump shot than to time a layup. And granted, I'm not saying that entirely as just a one-to-one thing. I'm saying the variance of layups changes a whole lot more than the variance of jump shots, and the jump shots have a lot more control over it because of said animations that we have so many different ways to customize the jump shots. What I would like is a layup creator of sorts, allowing you to select your hops, spins, and euros individually, as well as floaters and scoops and stuff like that. Now, as I said right here, it's a little overambitious, really. It's not realistic for them to give us something like that. If the meter's not going to be very forgiving and force us to be on something where it's, let's say for instance, this small with takeover the whole time or something like that, because as you can see it gets bigger as you like get into the gather and stuff like that. But my point is, I'd like to see us have a little bit of customization if the meters are going to be really small and hard to hit. If they're going to be forgiving, if there's some variance, understandable, I think it's fine. If you want to reference a perfect layup game of what you should exactly copy one-to-one, but maybe just make it a little bit harder to make them, I think you should literally just copy 2K24 entirely. It's the best layup game we've ever had. It's not even close, and it probably never will be close. Unfortunately, as optimistic as I'd like to be for layups in 26, I don't think they're going to return to a power of 24's level. I think 24 is just going to be a one-off. I don't want you guys to get catfished too hard by them talking about layup timing and stuff like that, making you think this is going to be the year for layups. That's not how it works. It's unfortunate that news just kind of turns into people wanting to talk about stuff and what the game's going to be like. But the truth is, if you come back to this right here, when you see a text line like this, there's no reason to read this and think layups are going to be overpowered. Realistically, it means that, sure, the difference in player quality of if you can master layups compared to the next guy is going to matter, obviously. People aren't just going to be able to rely on the fact that, their take is what mattered rather than the timing of the layup itself. So timing will matter no matter what. You can guarantee that 100%. Even if it's just under the basket open layups or semi-open, if it's, barely contested, those are still going to be sometimes the difference between making and missing them is just your timing on the layup. But again, the advanced finishing stuff like scoops, floaters, Euro lays, stuff like that, those types of things are for sure going to be just dependent on the gameplay. It's nothing about just the fact that it's in the news. So just keep in mind that no matter what happens, I will 100% get to this are layups good, are layups bad as soon as I possibly can, whatever that may end up being. So you guys can count on me for that 100%. I'm gonna try and do my best. So it's not like we learned a whole lot in today's video. I will admit to that because obviously we don't have a whole lot of information just in general on the game. But what I did want to do with today's video is open you guys up to what to look out for in this game. Just, noting that there's a lot of different layup systems we could reference in the past that if it's similar to those, you can kind of draw that as inspiration to understand what this game will bring to you. For instance, this is 2K24, right? We've already referenced all the things of the floater quality, the scoop quality, stuff like that. The fact that layup timing is going to be forced to be on already alludes to the fact that if it's good in the game, there will be a huge skill gap in it, and I love that that's a thing. But it also depends on, is it going to be easy to make? I do want to still reference that obviously when it comes to if layups equal easy, that means a lot of people will gravitate toward it. If layups equal hard, it means a lot of people will just ditch that style completely and not even put that in their game at all. And that's what generally a lot of people will do if the game doesn't enable that type of playstyle to be used. Now, there's also stuff like this where if gathers are good, for instance, like this is a nice, beautiful way of using gathers, right? If you had a customizable hop dunk animation or something like that that gave you a very similar animation every single time that you popped one off, then a lot of people would really open their bag up when it comes to finishing. But a lot of people in 2K25, you can't necessarily say that the same way, right? It's really just, it was so RNG based, whether you get a good floater animation, a good hop, a good spin. And that's how it's been in a lot of cases for 2K when it comes to the gathers. The gathers have been really hit or miss since 2K20. 20, I must say, gets a lot of crap for like how spammable the hop dunks were and stuff like that. But the reason they were good and consistently used is because it was a similar animation every single time. I forget exactly, I think it was Long Athlete. That's the name of the package that it was for that really good hop dunk toward your offhand, and it's why everybody used it, is because it was consistent. And same goes for like Jamal Crawford package back in the day. I loved doing it for like stylish stuff, and you got the same animations every time depending on which way you held your controller and stuff like that. So what I want is just consistency. I want a dunk meter that hopefully is not broken for the first time in like literally 2K history, because again, stuff like this that you're seeing in these clips is also not necessarily a good dunk meter. Let's be real. I mean, the clips that you see in this video are either going to be, you saw one already that was a completely tiny dunk meter. When you come back to this one right here, I believe, we'll just give a couple different cases right here. So like for instance, on this one that you see right here, the player in the corner, aka the center, is rotating down. He's in my blinder spot right here. It makes the meter massive and he's done for now. If he was there a couple inches like earlier, or just like a second earlier, he would have been in great guarding position. Like this guy is right here, is in great guarding position. Guess what? Now the meter's a sliver big. And it's rare to be able to get into cases like this where you actually green it. Now, that is the skill gap. At the end of the day, you got to admit, being able to make stuff like that truly can be the skill gap in slashing, but realistically, it's just too hard to do it at an efficient rate no matter who you are. So I'd like to see a middle ground a little bit, please. I mean, I know it's like asking a lot out of the game, you know, but something like the 24 meter dunk, it just wasn't good. So many cases like this that you see in these clips, it makes for a fun game for sure once you eventually learn the style and stuff that is required in these instances, but it doesn't make for a good balance, I really must say. The fact that you can just get into these gigantic meter dunks and it doesn't even matter the interior defense level of the people involved. Like this is a center right here, and instead I actually pull a smaller guy into it. But regardless, if someone's in good guarding position, it doesn't matter if they're big or small or anything like that. If they're in good guarding position, they just made the meter dunk small, and that was the big problem. And if they were on your blinder spot, no matter who they were, it was a gigantic meter. I don't like the 24. We already talked about the 2K23 one that was just like completely unruly in terms of it was like smaller meter dunks on opens than it was contact even. It was just a horrible meter system. And then 25, we didn't get any feedback for it at all. And I don't think it was good either. I just don't think it was usable enough. And I don't know. At the end of the day, if 2K wants something to be good in their game, they have control over it. I guess what I'm trying to say is realistically, if they wanted something like this back in the game, they could do it. But it's possible that they don't want this back in the game. Honestly, a lot of people complained about 2K24 layups. They said it was broken. They didn't like defending it. I mean, if it wasn't in their bag, if it wasn't exactly their style, I'm sure they obviously didn't want it in the game because it would just be a deterrent to the style they preferred instead. So what I'm trying to get at right here is that some of us love it, some of us don't. I think that's the thing that you really have to think about in the 2K community a lot, is that some people love one side of the thing, and a lot of people, maybe even an equal amount, hate that side of a thing. I mean, it's possible that 2K doesn't want layups to be like this again. I would recommend it. I think it made for a fun style. I think it opened the game up a lot. I think it opened a lot of people's eyes up to a way different way they could score, and it made a lot of different people a 3-level scorer for that matter. Like, instead of having a midi pull-up game and stuff like that, same way that a lot of NBA players do, they added a floater instead to their game. And instead of being on some like stop on a dime and just like snatch it back and pull up a midi, they just keep moving, keep the defender on their back, and put the floater up instead. I would like if there was a play style that was enabled like this, but this right here is pretty dominant, overpowered, and kind of stupid, if you want to be completely honest. I mean, like, let's be real. I want a build that has, in this clip right here, has 25 mid-range, 25 three-pointer, And just because I have an 80 driving layup, it gives me a range to be able to hit 18 footers. Let's see. Oh, dang. Okay, it's going to be a little hard to pull that one up. I'll come back to it. Okay, yeah. I have to leave the bar right here, but if you can see that, it's 19 feet and 8 inches. So essentially almost 20 footers. It just enabled me to actually hit those, even with no mid-range in my game at all. So what I'd like to see is, of these 3 things that I listed right here, consistency, power, and the quality of animation itself, I'd like to see 2 of those 3 things brought back no matter what. I think that would make for a really good layup system, and the problem is that, like I was just saying, 2K24 had all 3 of these together, which made it a little bit too overpowered if you ask me. You were able to get the same animations every time, you're able to make them at a high rate because of the power of layups itself, and along with getting the same animations every time, the animation itself, like the package of the Sabonis layup or the Devin Booker layup, all those packages were just overpowered in the sense of they had crazy range and quickness. So if you bring back the range and quickness, and also bring back the power, but the consistency is not there, it'd make it usable, but I don't think that would be fun. I think it'd be a little too RNG BS, and you can't depend on things. So the most important thing in this triangle, if you ask me, is consistency. I think consistency needs to be there 100% for the sake of it being fun to learn and fun to master. I think that's really the key. So consistency needs to be there. Now, if it's powerful like layups themselves and consistency, I think that's fine. And if the animations are toned back, where they don't want crazy stuff like Sabonis floater going up from 20 feet or Devin Booker going up from 20 feet and flying 4 feet in the air and being uncontestable, like just because you're so high up, that's okay. If they wanted to make it so layups aren't that good, but make it so they consistently happen all the time and the animations are good, that's cool with me too. If they, I think that makes for good balance. So no matter what you do, if consistency is there and we can get replicated animations that happen very consistently depending on the things you do on your controller, and then get one of the 2 things between layups being powerful and animations being good in general, I think that'd make for good balance, and I think it makes a good layup system. So anyway, that's all for today's video. I just wanted to talk to you guys about slashing in general and how layup timing being forced maybe makes something like Slasher's Return, but really what kind of indicates the whole Slasher's Return is the feedback on the dunk meter. No matter what now, I at least know I have the power to understand it, and knowledge is the power that I was lacking in 25, if I could be real. That was really debilitating to not be able to like lab things, if you ask me. So anyway, it's off video. I know you didn't exactly get what you probably clicked on for this one because it lacks a lot of thorough information, but this is a lot of just fun talk, It's fun talk about the game upcoming, what needs to happen for layups, and then also just some speculation. Maybe we'll find out more about this in the near future, Preloading meter dunks, are they back? I'll try and learn that as fast as I can too. And then also, we'll try and learn some things about like, does interior D matter, positioning, blah, 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 which one's more important, do they even matter at all? Because in some cases they actually haven't at all in previous years, interior defense being the main talking point on that. But anyway, again, let's just throw up the prayer circle, boys. If you made it to the end of the video and you want to drop a comment showing you that it made this far, put dunk meter in the comments, or just put meter if you'd like to show your support. And let's just throw up a prayer real quick that we can finally get a dunk meter that has been properly balanced. There's been a problem with it every year. 23, it's open dunks are too bad. 24, there's no in between on whether you get a crazy size on the dunk meter or a minuscule one. 25, there's no feedback for actually being able to learn the system at all. So because that variable is out the equation, hopefully 26 is already off to a good start where we can kind of already cross off one thing on the checklist of makes for a good system. So anyway, I'll come back to y'all with any more information we get on, dunk meter stuff and layups, or just in general talking about the game if we get more information. But I don't want to be that type of dude that's spamming the same info. You all see it from like every YouTuber. So I just wanted to talk about this because it's more into my niche, and it was a fun thing to maybe make some conversation about. See what you guys think in the comments. So feel free to leave one if you want to. And other than that, hope you all enjoyed. And other than that, take it easy, man. Peace.